Welcome back. You're live with Expresso as we launch into the final hour of what is, as always, on a Tuesday, a medically orientated show. Now, we're going to focus on our mouth. The roof of the mouth, known as the palate, is formed between the 6th and the 9th weeks of pregnancy. A cleft palate happens if the tissue that makes up the roof of the mouth does not join together completely during pregnancy. And while there are problems associated with a baby born with a cleft palate, medical professionals are able to operate to restore function. And this morning we are joined by Professor Tim Christofides to explain the condition a little bit better. And we'll also hear a bit more about the operation that he recently performed on Olivia, who is going to be joining us shortly. But first off, a very big thank you for joining us, Prof, and a very good morning. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm very well, thank you. I hope everybody there is well. And this is a great opportunity to actually create some awareness about cleft lip and palate. Thank you for having me.
Oh, an absolute pleasure.
Well, Prof, we touched briefly on what a cleft palate is, but what causes a cleft palate not to develop or join together during pregnancy?
Okay, it's a very in-depth topic, to be honest with you. And there's very many factors. First of all, there's genetic factors. In other words, cleft lip and palate can run within families. If a parent and another sibling have got cleft lip or palate, it increases the chance of the next pregnancy having a cleft lip or palate. So those are the genetic factors. There's also environmental factors which are important to actually take into consideration. And here we're looking at environmental factors that can be changed. Things like alcohol, smoking, use of some medication like anti-epileptic drugs, Accutane, retinoic acids for skin, and even steroids for arthritis and things like that. They can actually increase the incidence of cleft lip and palate. And one of the most important things is the maternal health, her nutrition, and how actually healthy she is. And then there's the last cause, which are syndromic. In other words, many different syndromes are associated with cleft lip and palate, and that's from the chromosome level. So these are the causes, in a nutshell, really.
I mean, you've alluded to this now with a few factors here, but I think a lot of parents and especially mothers will be asking themselves right now, can a mother do anything to prevent a cleft palate developing during pregnancy? If there is a genetic predisposition, can it be prevented? And by living a more healthy lifestyle, as you pointed out, are there ways that a mother can prevent this? And is there any way of pre-screening to know that you're in danger of your child being born with a cleft palate?
They're all good questions, I must be honest with you. The truth is that genetic predisposition is genetic predisposition, not much you can actually do about that. However, if the mother has got a healthy lifestyle, both before and during her pregnancy, and remember that this develops really early on in pregnancy, and unfortunately, some people don't even know that they are pregnant, and this has already happened. But a healthy lifestyle, the antenatal care during a pregnancy is vital for something like this. And the second part to your question is, are there any methods to actually pick up on cleft lip and palate before the birth? And yes, there are. All the antenatal screening with the ultrasounds, etc., very often do pick up a cleft lip and palate deformity before birth. And it's important for the parents to actually seek some form of counseling of sorts. They can then go through with some form of understanding of what is to come. And it is less daunting because it is very difficult for a couple to actually have a child with a deformity of this nature. But they do need to know that this is something that something can be done about it. And that's very, very important.
Prof, let's talk about that's where you come in. Let's talk about the after effects of this. What kind of problems or maybe just issues do children or babies experience who are born with a cleft palate?
So a scenario like this, you've always got to take into consideration the initial care of the child. And one of the most important, I mean, what do babies do? You know, they breathe, they eat, and well, you know what the rest is. And essentially, they do have some form of difficulty in feeding because there's a gap in the palate. They do need to be assisted. It doesn't mean that they can't feed normally with a bottle. To counsel do that. They get a lot of milk coming out of the nose because there's a big gap there. And also what's important is that there's certain techniques that can assist with the feeding. One of the big things is that the child must be well, must grow well, and must put on weight. Failure to thrive is not an option, and these children can feed if we teach the parents how to do that correctly. The other thing is that as the child grows older, speech is a major problem. The palate has got a lot of function which is related to speech. So under those circumstances, you know, these children do have to work slightly harder than other children.
Just finally, very quickly, at what age is a child eligible to have that corrective operation, and what needs to be in place for that to happen?
Okay, so at the beginning, if there's a lip involved, as this picture actually shows, if there's a lip involved, the cleft of the lip is usually repaired first in our practice, in our unit, and that's done between 3 and 4 months of age. The child has to be well enough for the surgery, and once the lip is repaired, some time goes by, and at 9 months, we do the soft palate going onto the hard palate. We do that because at that particular time, which is essential for speech, that's when the children start babbling, and the child needs to learn how to do it. Doing it earlier sometimes is very difficult because there are so many different muscles in the palate, even though it's such a small structure that have to be repaired, that they are too small to actually manage at a much younger age. So the longer we wait, the easier the surgery. However, it's not great for speech. So at about 9 months, we do the first stage of the palate, and then the second stage, which is the hard palate, we do it about 18 months to 2 years of age.
Oh, Professor, I wish we had an hour to sit and chat with you, but I think the bottom line here is that you are helping to change young people's lives and parents' lives for the better in an incredible way. So thank you so much for the work that you do on a daily basis. Thank you so much to the professor for sharing his extensive knowledge with us this morning. We're going to continue our chat next with the professor, as well as Olivia and her mother, Franche, next. And we're going to find out more about Olivia's smile.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, everybody. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Let's inspire you this morning. Now, in October 2020, a little bundle of joy named Olivia came into the world, encumbered more than anyone could ever have anticipated, a cleft lip and palate. 7 months later, Olivia's much-needed surgery to repair a cleft lip was compromised due to a fire at Charlotte Matrike Johannesburg Academic Hospital, which was due to be operated on. The anxious family's worries were further compounded by the backlog of elective surgeries brought about by the pandemic, as well as the cost of protecting Olivia's dignity and delivering a smile. Fate brought Franche to the Smile Foundation, and now finally, a year later, Olivia has had her first operation, and we are joined by Olivia and her mom, Franche, via Zoom to share their journey, as well as Kim, the General Manager of Smile Foundation. Olivia, Kim, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hello, little baby Olivia. We can't see you. Franche, first of all, congratulations. I know it's been the craziest time for you as a family and certainly as a mother. So through all of that, I hope you have been able to feel and see some positivity. But I'm going to ask you to start at the very beginning for us and let us know, when did you first pick up or learn about Olivia's cleft lip?
Actually, the day when she was born, we first learned about her cleft lip and palate. So we didn't know about it. So the night when the doctor brought it to us, me and my husband actually looked at her, me and my fiance, and we saw the lip for the first time, and we were like, oh wow, look at her beautiful lippy. We didn't know it was a cleft lip and palate. We didn't know it was a problem.
Wow, I can't imagine what she must be going through, but also just how beautiful she is. Look at her. She's
I know,
ready for
she's
TV.
she's a happy little baba this morning.
Very happy. But what were some of the challenges you dealt with when Olivia was born with a cleft lip and palate?
So there wasn't really much. So the nights when we saw her the first time, we didn't have our COVID test yet. So because we were through another company that helped us, there was a lot of birthing mothers helping us with the pregnancy throughout the whole journey. And then they basically told us, listen, we need to go for the COVID test first. Sorry. And then we only had to wait for our result to see afterwards what was wrong. So we could only see her for the first time the next morning at 11 o'clock.
Oh.
And only then they could tell us what was really wrong with the child. So yeah, that was pretty hard.
I can only imagine, so difficult for any new parent to start that journey, let alone with this kind of complication. But there is help out there in the form of the Smile Foundation, Kim, doing amazing work. When did you and Franche connect? How did your kind of journey together begin?
It's a very strange journey because I hadn't met Franche, and my husband popped into where Franche works, and he had a Smile mask on. And she said to him, where'd you get that mask? Do you work for Smile? And he said, no, but my wife does. And what's the problem? So then my husband started nagging me, as only a husband can do, to say,
He should
you're doing this, please, can you help this child? Please, can you help this child? Oh. So I then got in contact with Franche. She sent me a whole lot of photos of Olivia. They told me the whole story of Olivia. Yay. And I said, well, let's see what we can do. And so the wheels started rolling.
And during the craziest of times...
It was. So we have a huge backlog of kids with cleft lip and palate. In Johannesburg alone, I think we've got over 200 children that are waiting for different surgeries for cleft lip and palate.
Sure. And I mean, you get to see firsthand just the quality of life after the surgery. Speak to us about Franche and Olivia's story and how you've seen the improvement of her smile. Because I mean, she gave us a smile as we just said good morning this morning.
Oh, Olivia is just the most beautiful little girl. I mean, all kids are beautiful. I love children. I'd adopt them all and take them home if I could. But Olivia specifically touched my heart just because her parents were so frustrated because they just didn't know where to go. They didn't know where to turn. So it was just a run of bad luck and timing with COVID being in place and us not being able to do elective surgeries. She was planned for the surgery and then the Charlotte Max burned down. So she was just totally postponed for that time period. So as Prof. Christofides said, the best time for them to do surgery is at 3 months for the initial surgery. So you must think, if that lip of yours is completely open, the big thing with Olivia was she's drooling all the time. So she's constantly wet because she can't close her lip. Whereas we close our mouths, she couldn't close her mouth properly. So she's permanently wet because it's drooling and the drool's running down her chest and that all the time. Plus feeding is difficult because a child with a cleft has got no palate. And when you eat, you use your palate and then you chew and then swallow. And for sucking as well, you use your palate to suck. So obviously she couldn't drink milk because she couldn't drink from the bottle. So the big thing is they have a special cleft bottle that they use, that the teat is then on the underside, so it closes the bottle for them. But when Olivia got to the age where she should actually have solids, they learned that they turn the spoon upside down. So it's a different technique because then the spoon then forms the palate for the child to eat. But you must think, because there's no palate, you've got access into the ears and everything. So these kids end up with a lot of infections. And as Prof. Christofides says, they can't learn to talk. They can't learn to make all the normal sounds that kids at that age do. So when we met Olivia, she was 11 months old, and we decided to give Olivia a smile for her first birthday.
Oh, I love that.
So I met somebody who was very keen to do fundraising with us for Olivia specifically. And Sandy from Crema said to me, let's do this. Let's give Olivia a smile for her first birthday. So I then got on to, they started fundraising. I got on to Prof. Christofides and said to him, please, can we get this child a smile for her first birthday? So that's what we did.
And you have done it. And now we are looking at this gorgeous girl. Franche, we're going to say thank you so much for joining us. I've had a little baby over the last 18 months as well. And I cannot imagine what you must have gone through with all of these challenges. I'm also engaged as well, so I can't wait for that. So I'm hoping you're going to get everything that you deserve now. But it is so heartwarming to see Olivia doing so well with her beautiful new smile. So we're going to say good luck for the next phase. I know you've still got a long journey ahead of you, but we are so pleased that we could connect with you this morning and take a look at that gorgeous little baby. So congratulations once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everything you guys do.
Oh, she's just saying, and thank you.
Oh, absolutely love it. Kim is not going anywhere. We are going to continue to talk about cleft lip, cleft palate, and what is being done by amazing organizations like the Smile Foundation.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to our health focus on this Tuesday morning. Let's focus right now on an incredible organization. The Smile Foundation is a South African NPO that assists children with any type of facial abnormality, such as cleft lip and palate, as we've discussed this morning, aiming to return the smiles to the faces of children. That's what they're about. And we're joined this morning once again by Kim Robinson-Smith from the Smile Foundation to tell us a bit more about the amazing work that the life-changing work that they are doing. Kim, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Maybe you can give us a broad overview of how the Smile Foundation does what they do and why you guys were formed.
So a mom who was desperate to have her child's surgery done. This child actually had Mobius syndrome, which is a syndrome where they have no nerves in the face, so the child can't smile. So they have a very deadpan expression all of the time. So this mom started writing letters to then President Nelson Mandela to say to him, I have this child who can't smile. I want her to smile. Please help. And she wrote a letter to him every single month. And eventually, one of the letters managed to end up in his personal mail.
Wow.
So Nelson Mandela read this. He then decided he was going to help, as he did. He contacted our executive chairman, Mark Lubner, and said to him, you have Africa Tikkun. I want you to help this child smile. So Mark Lubner then contacted Professor George Saris, who was prof at Charlotte Max at the time, and said, we're going to make this child smile. So there were no skills in South Africa at that time to actually do the surgery for Mobius syndrome. So they brought the surgeons to South Africa from New York, and they did the surgery. And Thando actually still works for us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was 20 years ago. I was a nurse at that time, and I was actually in theatre for this specific case with Thando. So Nelson Mandela, Mark Lubner, and Professor George Saris then started the Smile Foundation, and we've been helping children for the last 20 years.
How many kids have you helped, do you think?
We've done over 2,800 children. We've done the surgeries.
800 kids getting
incredible.
the ability to smile again.
Oh.
We're focusing a lot about the cleft palate and the lip palate, which is work that you guys do, but you guys also do other facial issues as well. Maybe tap into that a bit.
So we do the Mobius syndrome, where the child can't smile. We also do children who've been affected by burns, children with abnormal ears, anything like that. I mean, you can think yourself what these children go through. As you were growing up and you had, maybe a bit of acne or something, and how devastated you felt. You didn't want to go anywhere or do anything. You just felt depressed and miserable because you looked different. So a lot of these children really look different. So what we do is we become the assistant magicians and we facilitate these events called Smile Weeks, where we help a whole lot of children to actually get a smile.
You do incredible work. I wish we had an entire hour to talk and delve into some of these amazing stories, because at the heart of each one of these success stories is a child that has received a smile, which is magical. As a parent who is missing his kids right now so much, I can appreciate what you do on a completely different level. It is amazing. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I love the fact that Tata Madiba has had a hand. If this has warmed your heart, if you are wanting to help in any way, find out more about anything that we've spoken about this morning, you can simply go to smilefoundation.co.za and get in touch and get all the details you need.